संजीत सर.
हाँ सर.
हाँ, shall I start? म्हणजे सुरू
Oh,
करू मी?
yes. Yes.
Okay. A very pleasant good morning, all of you. I am Professor Sirsat with you from Sri Rausaheb Ramrao Patil Mahavidyalaya Savlas for national webinar on understanding drama. As we all know that the world is fighting against coronavirus. This virus has damaged many social institutions and human beings also, inner and outer world of the human beings. This virus has brought many losses, and especially inner loss of human beings. This internal loss is reflected through different types of literary forms like poetry, novel, drama. Regarding this, we have selected the topic for this webinar, Understanding Drama. Apart from that, there is one more reason is that Shivaji University Kolhapur has changed the syllabus for BA course from the during year 2020-21. Regarding this, we have talked with Dr. Prabhanjan Mane sir. Without wasting many time, he directly agreed with us, and finally our efforts comes in reality. So on behalf of the Department of English, IQAC, and Sri Rausaheb Ramrao Patil Mahavidyalaya Savlas, I welcome Dr. Prabhanjan Mane sir, who is the main speaker of this webinar. I also welcome our Honorable Principal, Dr. Sri Rajendra More sir, who has always supported and guided us. I also welcome IQAC Coordinator and Department of English. I also welcome all the participants, research scholars, delegates, and students who participated in this webinar. Now, it is my responsibility to introduce today's speaker, that is Dr. Prabhanjan Mane sir. Prabhanjan Mane sir is recently working at Shivaji University, Kolhapur as an associate professor. He has more than 20 years teaching experience at PG and UG level. Sir has submitted 2 major research and 76 national and international research papers in the reputed UGC journals. Sir has published 3 books, and one of the books, that is Interpreting Data, is prescribed as a reference book to the BA and MA course at the Shivaji University Kolhapur. There are 8 students are going to obtain their PhD MPhil degrees under the supervision of our chief guest, Dr. Prabhanjan Mane sir, and one of the student who is going to take his postdoctoral research under the guidance of sir. Sir also worked as a member of BOS at Symbiosis College of Arts and Commerce, Pune, and Mulji Zaitha College, Jalgaon, who is an autonomous institute. Sir has also completed film appreciation course at Film and Television Institute of India, Pune. Sir also has delivered many lectures on radio talk at the All India Radio, Pune. So we have such type of personalities, and we are eagerly waiting to listen him. So without wasting a lot of time between the speaker and listener, I request Honorable Dr. Prabhanjan Mani sir to express your views regarding the topic understanding drama. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fulchand Shirsat, for this brief and wonderful introduction. At the outset, I would like to express my gratitude towards Raj Shikshan Sanstha Shri Raosaheb Ramrao Patil Mahavidyalaya Savlat, the principal Dr. Rajendra More, IQSC coordinator and head of the Department of English, Mr. Fulchand Shirsat, for organizing this national webinar on understanding drama. At the outset, I would like to also mention that during this COVID pandemic, many colleges and especially many principals, IQSC coordinators are busy with arranging such national or state level webinars on various topics. And I'm glad to mention here that this college has already organized a few wonderful webinars on various topics on various subjects. The topic which I have selected for my discussion or for this webinar is understanding drama, and I would like to mention here that my discussion will be based on three important books. One is Martin Eslin's An Anatomy of Drama and J.L. Stein's Elements of Drama and the Dramatic Experience, a guide to the uh, reading. There is one more thing which I would like to mention, that Mr. Shirsat has already mentioned that one of my books, Interpreting Drama, is prescribed for BA as well as MA students in their syllabus for drama paper. I'll be referring to this book frequently in order to discuss various issues regarding understanding drama. The first thing which I would like to mention here, that as far as drama, the genre is concerned, in order to understand this genre, it is expected that we should know uh, the origin and various technical issues regarding this genre. If we read any history of literature, whether it is British literature, Indian literature, or European literature, we will agree with, perhaps all of you will agree with me, that in any historical study of literary forms, drama, as the earlier to evolve, should of course take precedence of the novel. Let me illustrate my point. As far as Indian classical literature is concerned, all of us know very well that Kalidasa's Abhijan Shakuntalam is considered as the earliest instance of drama. Similarly, as far as European drama is concerned, Sophocles' Oedipus Rex or other plays, Electra, Oedipus at Colonus, these are the earliest instances of Greek drama. But we know very well that as far as British literature is concerned, we know that during mid 15th century, miracle plays, morality plays, interludes came up, evolved. But as far as novel is concerned, we know that uh, Johnson Richardson's Pamela is considered as the first instance of novel. My point here is that drama is a performing art and it evolved very naturally before novel began. So, if we compare these two genres, drama and prose fiction, then we will come to know that although both these genres are compounded of the same materials, but still there are basic differences, and these differences are something very important in order to understand and study drama as a genre. I have just mentioned that drama and prose fiction are compounded of the same raw materials. It means in both these genres we find plot, story, characters, etc. But still, the handling or the treatment given to these elements material is totally different. Basically, uh, drama is not a pure literature. Drama is not a pure literature because it is a compound art in which the literary element is organically bound up with the elements of stage setting and histrionic interpretation. The novel, on the other hand, is independent of these secondary arts. Now, perhaps all of you will agree with me. Let me elucidate my point. How drama is not a pure literature and it is a compound art. Basically, drama is meant for stage representation. When any dramatist or playwright writes or composes a play, he has in his mind the audience, the theater in mind. Whereas when a novelist writes a novel, he has the reader in his mind. So that is the basic difference between these two genres. The novel is independent of the secondary arts, and perhaps you must have heard that one of the critics called Marian Crawford considered novel as a pocket theater. Pocket theater because in novel we find almost all the elements which we need for the performance of a play. The novel is independent of the secondary arts because it contains within itself not only plot, the characters, actors, but also costume, scenery, and all the other accessories of dramatic representation. So, in a way, what Marion Crawford has said about novel as a pocket theater is absolutely right because the novelist has a full freedom to illustrate, sometimes intrude in order to illustrate particular scene, a specific character in his novel. Take the example of Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. You will realize that many a times Dostoevsky infused in order to illustrate Raskolnikov, his protagonist's character, his behavior. So it means we find that this kind of intrusion is not at all possible as far as drama is concerned. The dramatist cannot come on the stage in order to inform his audience that, look, here is my hero. We understand the heroic qualities of the protagonist of any play by reading the dialogues or by watching the performance of that play. So, let me illustrate again that while watching, let's say, Hamlet, Shakespeare's famous tragedy, Shakespeare or any director does not come on the stage to tell you that, look, here is the hero of my play. As the play proceeds, gradually the audience and the readers can easily understand the heroic qualities of the protagonist. So, drama, that's why I have said that drama, when we read, uh, 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 drama is not a pure literature, it is a compound art, because uh, the text heavily relies on the theatrical elements like sound effects, light effects, costume, scenery, etc. We understand a particular scene in a drama with the help of these secondary elements which I have just mentioned. The next point which I would like to mention that drama is the most rigorous form of literary art, whereas the prose fiction is the loosest. In order to write a play, a long preliminary discipline in technique and a thorough knowledge of the stage are requisite or essential. It means that anybody can, to some extent, write a novel, but it is really challenging and difficult to compose a play because basically a novel is written to be read, and it is not for we can read the novel not in single sitting but at many sittings. You can read the first part of the novel, you can keep it aside, you can take the remaining part of the novel maybe later, day after tomorrow, after some days. But basically drama is meant for single hearing. Those who have read Aristotle Poetics, they will understand my point. They will perhaps able to understand that how drama is meant for single hearing. Aristotle, in his Poetics, has made it clear that the length of a play should be, as while talking about brevity of a drama or tragedy, he has made it clear that drama is meant for single sitting, single hearing. Uh, the drama is designed for representation by actors who impersonate the characters of its story and among whom the narrative and the dialogues are distributed. The novel is self-contained in that sense because, as I have just mentioned, that many a times, if it is a third-person omniscient narration in a novel, the novelist comes and he illustrates several things about the scene, about the characters, about the plot, about the story, etc. But that freedom is not possible for a dramatist, and that's why, in a way, the drama is a rigorous form of literature. The drama, when we read it as literature, is not self-contained. What we read is, in fact, little more than a bare outline or a skeleton which the playwright intended to be filled in by the art of the actors and the theatrical elements. So, drama is uh, is not a self-contained in that sense. While reading any play, whether it is Elizabethan Shakespearean drama or any modern drama, we need to imagine how that scene, how that play could be performed on the stage. While reading any scene in a play, it is expected that we have to imagine how this scene could be performed on the stage. In other words, it is expected that while reading a play, a reader has to visualize in his mind how that scene can be performed by the actors on the stage with the help of several secondary uh, elements like sound effects, light effects, the costume, etc. And that's why I strongly believe that drama in that way is not at all self-contained. What we read uh, 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 as a text is a bare skeleton, and the playwright intends to be filled in by the art of acting theatrical elements. The comprehension and the enjoyment of a play as a piece of literature must always make greater demands upon us than the comprehension of the novel. ourselves the external conditions from which it derives much of its life. While reading or studying any drama as a piece of literature, we should do our utmost to recreate its proper theatrical circumstances and surroundings, and thus to make our private reading of drama as far as possible an adequate substitute for public performance. Uh, Many a times, if you read earlier Elizabethan drama or Jacobean drama, you will notice that during that time, the dramatists did not provide lengthy or longer stage directions. If you read, let's say, Hamlet or King Lear, you will find that only the setting is mentioned in one line, one sentence. Whereas, if you take into consideration mid 19th century drama or modern drama, let me give you concrete examples in order to illustrate my point. If you read Henrik Ibsen's uh, uh, Henrik Ibsen's play Ghosts, for example, you will notice that for each scene, Henrik Ibsen is in the habit of providing lengthy or very long stage directions in order to make sure that if at all it is performed, if it is directed by any director, there should not be misunderstanding, there should not be confusion, or it should not be wrongly represented on the stage. You will notice that playwrights like Henrik Ibsen or even Anton Chekhov or to some extent Eugene O'Neill in American literature, they are in the habit of providing very long kind of uh, stage directions, mentioning all the detailed, minute uh, descriptions about the characters, their gestures, tone, sound effects, lights, etc. The same is the case with modern uh, playwright like Strindberg. In Strindberg's Ghost Sonata, we notice this kind of longer stage directions because these stage directions make sense in all while reading that play. We are not at all confused or we do not make uh, ambiguous uh, interpretation of that scene. Now, let me illustrate a few things more. As far as drama and especially Elizabethan or Jacobean drama is concerned, all of us know very well that during that time, the dramatists heavily relied on minimum scenery or drapery. Uh, if you read Christopher Marlowe's Jew of Malta, for example, you will realize that how uh, Elizabethan dramatists like Marlowe relied and how they make use of only dialogue. With the help of dialogue, they have to recreate, they have to provide information to the audience that the scene is shifted from one place to another. In Act 2, Scene 3 of Jew of Malta, the protagonist Barabbas tells that now I am going to the market, and one of the other characters says that okay, I'll come with you. Barabbas only says come, and in the text after the word come there is a long hyphen, and then Barabbas only mentions that here we are in the market. Now, this is something unusual as far as Elizabethan drama is concerned. While watching this particular scene, the the audience of that time could realize that now Barabbas has reached in the market, and that's what Coleridge used to in his famous essay has said that willing suspension of disbelief. While watching a play, and obviously St. Coleridge in his essays on Shakespeare, he has talked about this idea, this notion of willing suspension of disbelief. Uh, uh, Perhaps all of you know Aristotelian formula of three unities: unity of time, unity of place, and unity of action. But uh, you perhaps all of you know that Shakespeare violated many a times for the uh, emotional effect, for artistic purpose, one of these unities. And for that purpose, S.T. Coleridge has mentioned that how the idea of willing suspension is necessary in order to watch and understand a play. When one scene shifts to another scene, we cannot say that how is it possible that the first scene was taken place in Milan and the next scene is taking place in some other city. It is presumed, it is expected that audience should willingly accept, willingly suspend their disbelief, and this is how the idea of willing suspension of disbelief is very crucial in drama, and understanding of drama depends also on this notion of willing suspension of disbelief. Now I would like to move further to talk about uh, certain changes, various historical developments in drama. uh, as far as Elizabethan drama or Jacobean drama is concerned, during Renaissance in British literature, many of you will know at that time it was not at all a very modern kind of theater. Modern in the sense that uh, during late 16th century, the theaters were built by certain theater of people. James Burbage, for example, uh, built the first theater, which is known as the theater itself. There, at that time, they did not have uh, any kind of theatrical secondary elements like sound effects or light effects, etc. They did not even have curtains, and that made a very challenging task for even dramatists like Shakespeare. But as we proceed further, there are many changes in theater and uh, scripts or even the text. We find that during mid 19th century, realism evolved, and in the hands of Henrik Ibsen and even Anton Chekhov, we find that realistic drama emerged as a very prominent genre of drama. But at the turn of the century, at the beginning of 20th century, because of several reasons, we notice that realism lost its profound uh, dominance, and various isms like surrealism, uh, existentialism came with some powerful force. So, one of the reasons at the turn of the century is various scientific discoveries and innovations. One remarkable thing should be taken into consideration is the invention of camera. This created a challenge for artists, including the dramatists, that they started exploring new possibilities of creating drama. In the hands of Strindberg, once again, and in the hands of Bertolt Brecht, we find new kind of drama. As we proceed further, after the Second World War, we find new kind of drama emerged, which is known as the theater of the absurd. I'll give one or two examples in order to illustrate my point that uh, immediately after the Second World War, people uh, were confused. They lost their uh, faith in humanity, and it was really a kind of uh, shock for many of them. And in order to recreate this shock, Samuel Beckett and many of his contemporaries created new kind of dramatic experience. Beckett's famous play, Waiting for Godot, uh, perhaps many of you know the plot and the story of this play. There are only two acts. There are only four characters, Vladimir, Estragon. These are two tramps. They are waiting for Godot, and they do not know, surprisingly, who is the Godot and when he is coming. But still, right from the beginning of the play till the end of this play, they are waiting. But then the question arises, what is the meaning of this kind of drama? It is very simple that the dramatists like Samuel Beckett and others, they are trying to recreate meaninglessness, futility of human life. And in order to understand this kind of pathetic, horrible situation, immediately after the Second World War, they had to explore various elements, various techniques in order to uh, give that kind of experience to the audience. Now, if you read this play, Waiting for Godot, perhaps you will be bored. I'm sure those who have read this text, Waiting for Godot, or those who have watched the performance of Waiting for Godot, perhaps they will agree with me that at first they may have felt that what kind of play is this? There is no story, there is no plot as such, but still, at surface level, it may look like that there is no story, there is no plot, there is no meaning, logical sense at all. But Beckett is vehemently, very strongly creating sense for the audience in order to uh, create this meaninglessness, futility of human life. He relied on several techniques and which created a very unusual kind of dramatic experience for the audience. My point here is that when we read any play, whether it is Elizabethan drama, whether it is 19th century realistic drama, or whether it is modern or whether it is postmodern drama, it is absolutely essential for us to recreate or imagine in our mind how this play, how or this particular scene in that play can be performed on the stage by the actors with the help of sound, light effects, costume, drapery, etc. Many a times, unfortunately, many students do not make difference between drama and novel. Unfortunately, many students read drama as if it is a kind of fiction. They They try to understand the story, and it is but natural. At first, uh, I agree with them that first of all, their intention is to know the story of a play, but they fail to understand that drama is meant for stage representation. Whenever a dramatist writes a play, he has audience or the spectators in his mind. As I have just mentioned right at the beginning in my discussion, when a novelist writes a novel, he has readers in his mind, and a novel is not meant for single reading or single sitting. It is meant for you can read the novel as per your convenience. But the effect of drama, in order to understand a tragedy, for example, uh, it is expected that you should read or you watch the performance of a drama right from the beginning till the end. Let me illustrate my point so that you will understand what I'm trying to say. When we go to the theater to watch a movie or a play, we sit there for 2 to 3 hours, right from the beginning till the end of a movie or a play. We watch the entire piece and then we come out of the theater with a particular effect on our mind. We do not watch a play in chunks. We do not watch a movie. I mean, you go to the theater, you watch the first part of the movie, you come out of the theater, and on the next day you go to watch the second part after interval. You do not go to watch the remaining part of the movie. The same is the case with drama. It is expected in order to experience the the kind of uh, uh, effect which dramatist intends to offer to his audience. It is expected that we should read it or watch it in single sitting only. Next thing is which I must mention here, that while while reading any play, I strongly believe that it is necessary to understand the biographical details of the writer, the era, the period in which the writer was composing that drama, that play. Moreover, it is expected that we should know the subgenres of that play. It means if you are reading a play, you should know very well that whether it is a tragedy, whether it is a comedy. If at all it is a tragedy, then whether it is historical tragedy, whether it is a romantic tragedy, if you understand, if you know certain things about that work, it helps you to enjoy, to appreciate, to comprehend that play in a better way. Moreover, if you know the background or the context of that play, it becomes more meaningful and fruitful to comprehend, understand that play. Uh, as I have just mentioned, that in order to comprehend, understand a play like Waiting for Godot, if you do not take into consideration the period in which Samuel Beckett was writing that play, then it would be a, a sort of difficult task on the part of the readers or the audience to understand that play. If you know the background, it means immediately after the Second World War, the play was written because many of the people throughout the world were horrified and shocked to witness and experience the horrible effects of the Second World War. All of we know very well the for the first time America used atom bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and millions of people were killed. On that background, uh, a play like Waiting for Godot is created. My point here is that uh, in order to comprehend, in order to understand a drama, it is also expected to know the background, the context, historical period in which it is composed. Uh, I know very well that new critics do not accept the idea of relying or taking into consideration such elements like the context, the biographical details of the writer, or the historical period in which it is written. New critics uh, heavily rely on the text only, but sometimes, no doubt, to some extent, new critics, they are right in their own way, but sometimes it is almost essential or necessary for the readers to understand the context in which the play is written. Uh, so this is what I think about as far as the historical background or the context, uh, various isms which are directly related to drama. Uh, Last but not the least, I would like to mention uh, one important factor of drama. Although drama has a very long and rich tradition, right from Greek or Sanskrit drama uh, to postmodern period, perhaps all of you will agree with me that till mid 20th century, this genre was dominated by males. It means that drama, many of, if you read, if you take any history of British literature or American literature or even Indian literature, you will find that most of the dramatists are men. But after uh, Second World War, immediately after mid 20th century, we notice that there is emergence of many women playwrights, and nowadays there are women playwrights like Susan Lori Parks, for example, in American literature, who received the Pulitzer famous prestigious award like Pulitzer Prize in 2002 for her contribution to American drama. Uh, Even in Indian literature, there are several important women playwrights, and they are now contributing substantially to drama, Indian context, as well as in British literature, we find playwrights like Vincent Pinnock and others. They are very strong, uh, strong in the sense that they are trying to give vent to the feelings and ideas of issues related to women. This does not mean that uh, all the women playwrights take only issues related to women. There are many women playwrights. They handle several issues, social issues, and uh, political issues as well. So, with these words, I would like to conclude my session. At last, I would like to thank Mr. Fulchand Shirsat, IQAC coordinator and head of the Department of English, RR Patil Mahavidyalaya Saugars, and I would like to thank the principal, Dr. Rajendra More, for inviting me for this national seminar webinar and giving me opportunity to express my views regarding drama. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to request all the participants, delegates, research scholars, and students, if you have any point or any questions regarding this, the topic which is recently Dr. Prabhanjan Mani has discussed with us. If you have any questions, you can ask directly. We have a very few time, so please ask within the time. Okay. Regarding the time,
Hello.
I request our honorable principal, Dr. Rajendra More sir, to express the presidential speech on the topic understanding drama. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello.
What's the difference between? No, coordinate, right? University.
आवाज येत नाही सरांचा. हॅलो.
हॅलो.
हा संदीप सर, सरांचा आवाज येत नाही.
कोणत्या सरांचं म्हणलं?
आपले प्राचार्य साहेब मोरे सरांचा आवाज येत नाही.
हा आता बघ.
नमस्कार. शिरसट सर, माझा आवाज येतोय का? रयत शिक्षण संस्थेचे श्री रावसाहेब रामराव पाटील महाविद्यालय सावळज येथील IQAC डिपार्टमेंट आणि इंग्रजी विभागाच्या वतीने आयोजित केलेल्या या नॅशनल वेबिनार मध्ये मी आपणा सर्वांचं या ठिकाणी हार्दिक स्वागत करतो. आज या वेबिनार मध्ये अंडरस्टँडिंग ड्रामा या विषयावर माननीय डॉक्टर प्रभंजन माने सर त्यांची मांडणी अभ्यासपूर्ण अशा प्रकारची होती आणि मी त्याची मांडणीशी ऐकली. अत्यंत काळजीपूर्वक मी ऐकत होतो की इंग्रजी विषयाचे प्राध्यापक माने सर यांनी खूप छान पद्धतीनं मांडणी केली. त्याचबरोबर शिवाजी विद्यापीठाच्या कार्यक्षेत्रातील एक अभ्यासू व्यक्तिमत्व म्हणून माने सरांचा उल्लेख केला जातो. माने सरांची ओळख शिरसट सरांनी सांगत असताना जवळजवळ 70 ते 75 पेपर सरांनी वेगवेगळ्या सेमिनार मध्ये, राष्ट्रीय आंतरराष्ट्रीय पातळीवरच्या सेमिनार मध्ये, चर्चासत्रांमध्ये त्याची मांडणी केलेली आहे. त्याचबरोबर सरांनी ही सगळी मांडणी करत असताना सहभागी झाला त्याबद्दल आपणा सर्वांच्या प्रती मी कृतज्ञता व्यक्त करतो, आभार व्यक्त करतो आणि थांबतो. धन्यवाद.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Professor Ajit Rao Dhere sir to express vote of thanks.
Good morning, all. On behalf of Shri Rausaheb Ramrao Patil Mahavidyalay, Sawas, I take this opportunity to propose vote of thanks to those who have directly and indirectly contributed to this national webinar on understanding drama. I thank to our chief guest and speaker, Dr. Prabhanjan Mane sir, Associate Professor of English, Department of English, Shivaji University, Kolhapur. We are enlightened with your knowledge and presence. Then I thank to our principal, honorable principal, Dr. Rajendra More sir, Shri Ramrao Patil Mahavidyalaya, Savas, for his encouragement and support. A special thanks to our Professor Pulchand Shirsar sir, coordinator IPSC and head Department of English of our college. Then our heartfelt thanks to participants, research scholars, then students for active participation. Then finally, with the permission of honorables, I declare that this national webinar is successfully over here. Thank you.